How to choose a refrigerator. What is the truth behind marketing words? Hello everyone, I'm Ronshen. The essence of a fridge's cooling is the reverse Carnot cycle. The four core components are the compressor, condenser, heat exchanger, and evaporator. Does this sound familiar? That's right, they are the same four components in air conditioners. The working principle of fridges and air conditioners is exactly the same. The only difference is that fridges pack these four components into one unit, with the evaporator at the back for cooling. What do we mean by single system and dual system fridges? It actually depends on how many evaporators it has. One means single system, two means dual system. What's the difference between the two? Let me give you a straightforward analogy. The refrigerator's refrigeration and freezing are like two adjacent rooms. Where the fridge is like having an air conditioner in one room, and what if the other room wants cooling? It can only open the door in between and rely on the cold air to flow through. This way, the air in both rooms mixes together, which inevitably leads to flavor mixing. A dual system fridge has two rooms, each with its own independent air conditioner, blowing separate air without interference. That's why people often say single system refrigerators can mix odors. That's where the problem lies. The debate over aluminum and copper in the air conditioning industry is heating up. But many people don't know that fridges have gone through the same path. Before 2000, fridge evaporators were mainly made of pure copper. In 2004, international copper prices surged, and with the gradual maturity of copper-aluminum welding technology, the fridge industry slowly began to switch from copper evaporators to aluminum ones. By 2020, copper evaporators in fridges were hardly seen on the market. For air conditioners, we can still choose between copper and aluminum pipes. But for fridges, there's no point in discussing this topic anymore. Similarly, the debate between dual and single system fridges nearly became history a few years ago. This started back in 2021, when the market was still filled with non-zero temperature fridges, and companies were just beginning to focus on component technology. The industry was puzzled over whether to adopt single or dual system routes, but the mainstream opinion was that a similar effect could be achieved at a lower cost. The real thoughts of fans, that's right. I was also on the invitation list back then. Everyone should be clear about all the developments. Dual systems haven't disappeared, they've become mainstream now. Alright, everyone should understand the difference between single and dual systems. Let me pour some cold water on everyone first. Dual systems can only solve the mixing of flavors between refrigeration and freezing. If you put a durian in the fridge, or strong-smelling things like scallions and snail noodles, dual systems won't help. You'll need sterilization and deodorization technology. This is the industry standard, rating standards and testing methods for refrigerator deodorization and sterilization functions. The refrigerator's sterilization and deodorization are divided into three levels, focusing on three key indicators: deodorization, sterilization, and virus removal. It's obvious that level 1 is the most effective, which we commonly refer to as active sterilization. The essential difference between level 2 and 3 is whether there is an energy supply. For example, light, electricity, and fields. Light is easy to understand. It's actually using specific wavelengths of ultraviolet light for sterilization. Currently, the more mainstream technologies are electric and field-based, generating high concentrations of negative ions or positive and negative ions with high voltage discharge, allowing relative air circulation to continuously purify the air inside the refrigerator. Besides active sterilization, passive antibacterial methods are also common in the market. A small module that filters the air as it passes through, but it can't achieve active sterilization, so the effect is minimal. Typically, product pages mention antibacterial and antimicrobial rates. Currently, active sterilization varies among brands. Major brands also boast their own sterilization rates. Virus removal rates are often in the high 9s, and how long it takes to deodorize, etc. To understand the differences, I specifically visited suppliers of sterilization and deodorization. This is a commonly used sensor in refrigerators. This is the plasma generator and negative ion generator used for sterilization and deodorization in refrigerators. One piece of information I found surprising. Can you guess how much a set of active sterilization devices costs? You can type your guesses in the comments. The supplier told us that the negative ion generator generally costs around 10 yuan. The plasma generator usually costs around 20 yuan. Could you please tell me how much this costs? The plasma generator, right? Yes, the plasma generator costs about 20 yuan. And the negative ion generator is a bit cheaper. Moreover, the same supplier supplies several top brands. The core applications are actually quite similar. But I must clarify one thing first. Just because the cost is low doesn't mean it's useless. On the contrary, active sterilization, whether it's sterilization or deodorization, the effects are very obvious. Being this cheap is possible, thanks to our country's strong industrial supply chain that brings costs down. It's frustrating that some brands selling large refrigerators know that they can improve with very little cost, but they still refuse to use sterilization and deodorization, which is quite disgraceful. Some may say that both have dual systems and active sterilization. One sells for 10,000 yuan, while another sells for 4,000. Can the sterilization effects be the same? This is a typical outsider's view, purely theoretical, without much hands-on experience with refrigerators. The real price difference in refrigerators is never in the sterilization technology, but rather in other aspects. It's all about the core materials and freshness differences. Freshness is a big topic. We'll discuss it later. First, let's talk about the materials used in refrigerators. There are really many pitfalls here. Recently, a term has become very popular. Plastic field refrigerators, no need for me to explain, but you can guess what it means. Some brands are quite sneaky now. Since you all know to have dual systems and actively disinfect, I'll equip you fully, then quietly cut back where you usually don't pay attention. The result is spending thousands to bring one home. Everywhere you touch feels like a thin, soft plastic shell, full of nostalgia. No wonder everyone complains. Old refrigerators used to last 20 years. Many new models today don't even match the old ones. Today, I'll teach you a few methods to judge without touching the actual machine. By just looking at the details page, you can roughly judge the material used. First, let's look at the refrigeration compartments of 3 refrigerators. Everyone, find the differences in the sections. You have 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. The answer is revealed. The left side is a beggar board with 2 shelves creating 3 layers of space. The middle one is an upgraded version with 3 shelves creating 4 layers of space, and the one on the right is the high-end version, which not only has 4 layers of space, but also includes a full-width fruit drawer at the bottom. Moisture retention and temperature control will be better. It's still these 3 images. Everyone, look for the differences in lighting and the back panel of the refrigerator. First, this one has a top strip light plus a plastic back panel. The middle one still has a strip light on top, but the back panel has been changed to a metal one. The quality has improved a lot, and the one on the far right has a full backlight. Some have even switched to starry sky lighting. The quality level immediately rises. Actually, a refrigerator doesn't have to feel so plastic. The basic principle is to avoid plastic wherever possible inside. Take this small drawer as an example. A good refrigerator should use glass for this, or stainless steel, which is definitely much better than plastic. Later, when I analyze each refrigerator, I will explain the materials used. Besides the materials mentioned earlier, the freshness technology also accounts for thousands or even tens of thousands in price differences. Traditionally, freshness mainly refers to the preservation in the refrigeration compartment. See how long a spinach can last in the fridge without wilting. This year, major manufacturers are starting to focus on the freezing compartment. Let's peel it back bit by bit. First, let's look at preservation in the refrigeration compartment. In simple terms, there are 2 core directions. They're precise temperature control with humidity control. Some may also add lighting to keep fruits and vegetables in a more suitable storage environment. For example, Midea's microcrystal fresh for a week. Adding a dedicated sealed drawer, multiple temperature sensors and independent air ducts ensure precise temperature control. The Will Fresh by Ronshen not only increases light but also controls temperature and includes a misting device, paired with a humidity sensor for precise humidity control. Toshiba's mist preservation achieves precise humidity control through a permeable membrane unit. Another direction is vacuum preservation, mainly by using low pressure and low oxygen to slow down food respiration. Extend freshness time like Casarte's MSA preservation, adding a nitrogen-oxygen membrane and a vacuum pump, keeping the entire drawer in a low oxygen state. The vacuum first-class cabin of Hisense can be heard hissing when the drawer is opened. Mainly because the drawer is in a low-pressure, low-oxygen environment, Hitachi's vacuum preservation follows the same principle. For mid to high-end refrigerators, preservation technology should be a key focus, but if your budget is limited, it's okay not to have these technologies. We can also adopt alternative solutions, which means storing all fruits and vegetables in preservation bags. This can lock in moisture, and the fruits and vegetables will gradually consume most of the oxygen, creating a low oxygen environment. Now let's look at the freezer. As many brands are starting to promote deep freezing for freshness, there's actually a big misconception that no one has ever told you about. The normal storage temperature for a freezer is minus 18 degrees Celsius. When meat is first placed in the freezer, it will gradually cool down, then pass through minus 1 to minus 5 degrees Celsius. This average time spent can be too long. Large ice crystals can rupture cell walls, leading to loss of juices when thawed, resulting in a poor texture and forming ice crystals. The storage temperature of the freezer can reach below minus 35 degrees Celsius. This significantly shortens the time for the meat to pass through the ice, reducing nutrient loss. Actually, all of the above is fine and can achieve such effects. But let me ask everyone, if a refrigerator claims to support deep freezing to lock in freshness, do you think the freezer temperature of this refrigerator is always maintained below minus 35 degrees Celsius? This is a major misconception. For the deep freeze mode, the compressor needs to run at full load continuously, which significantly increases energy consumption, and prolonged operation can also affect the compressor's lifespan. So the common saying in the industry is that the deep freeze mode needs to be manually activated. And generally, once activated, it is. It can last up to 24 hours, below minus 35 degrees Celsius, and automatically returns to minus 18 degrees after 24 hours. Currently, refrigerators with deep freezing and freshness locking operate like this. So choosing a freezer with deep freezing lock freshness is no problem. But since you've paid for this feature, you'll need to know how to use it later. When you put high-end ingredients like seafood and steak into the freezer, remember to press the deep freeze mode button an hour in advance or when adding food. If people rely on clothing, refrigerators rely on panel materials. I also consulted suppliers about this. Now refrigerator panels come in all sorts of styles, like this one that looks just like a mirror. What material do you think it is? Actually, this is a type of metal sheet that has a glass-like texture, and it can also hold refrigerator magnets, but it's quite expensive. Currently, there are mainly two types of panels on the market. One is the metal sheet type, like PCM, VCM, PPM, and so on, which undergo secondary processing on a metal substrate to present different textures. The advantage is that you can use refrigerator magnets. Secondly, tempered glass. Whether you see this mirror type offline, or even those that mimic stone, they all belong to glass panels. I've found that people's obsession with refrigerator magnets exceeds my expectations. For example, this friend says, "What's the use of not sticking it on the fridge?" Nearly 600 people liked it, and this friend bought a glass panel and directly used double-sided tape to stick magnets on it. Now let's talk about choosing refrigerator styles. There are 2-door, 3-door, 4-door, and even 6-door models. But these are just appearances. The key to differentiating refrigerators lies in the design behind the doors, which is the zoning design. French 4-door and cross-opening doors are currently two very popular styles. This is an up and down layout. The refrigerator compartment is frequently accessed, making it more convenient without bending down. This Y design is better for larger ingredients, like celery, making it easier to store. Currently, major brands' mid to high-end refrigerators mainly feature these two styles. Side-by-side refrigerators have a relatively simple structure, and the biggest advantage is that you can get one for over $2,000 less, a refrigerator with over 600 liters capacity, so they sell better in the low-end price range. Here are my purchasing suggestions for you. The recommended order for large apartments is as follows. And for small apartments, it's like this.